Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another Saturday Pagan Perspective. This week's topic is divination.
I took my troubles down to Madame Ruth. You know they tipsy with their gold cat tooth. She's got a score down at 34 combined. 7 little bottles of love potion number 9.
What is divination? How does it differ from fortune telling? Well, in my opinion, it differs in a couple of ways. The first place, as Fiatori said, divination involves contact with the divine. So there's a religious element to divination, which is often absent in fortune telling, which seems to me to be utilizing tools or techniques more than contacting the divine. Secondly, fortune telling presumes that there is a future out there that you can read or find out what it's going to be. I don't believe that there is a future. I think there's a lot of possible or probable futures. And when I use divination, I'm not so much trying to find out what the future holds as what my present actions might do to change the future. What course I'm on so that I can make better choices about what courses I want to be on, what the influences are around me, and how they affect me and how I can affect them. How does divination work? Well, that's almost anybody's guess. I have a few theories about it I'd like to share with you. There are a lot of different kinds of divination. Probably the oldest type involve trance work or dream work. A little more modern ones, like the tarot and like the runes, involve a randomized event, shuffling and drawing of cards or the casting of rune stones, and then interpreting them. But still, I think to get a real interpretation, there must still be a shift in consciousness into what I call ritual consciousness. Now, those are primarily visual types of divination. They're types of divination that are a little bit more tactile kinesthetic, like using a Ouija board or spirit board or a pendulum to do divination. These also, I believe, require a shift in consciousness to really work. Now, coming sort of from the fairy tradition, I see us as having three selves, or maybe three levels of consciousness. Some in the fairy call it three souls, but I'm a little uncomfortable with the word soul, and having one of them's bad enough, but having three of them's kind of confusing. Well, anyway, the first self is called talking self. That's our conscious mind. It's that stream of chatter going in your head all the time. It's linear, it's verbal. The second self is our younger self. That's what we were at maybe 1 or 2 years old before we learned language. We experienced life in the universe directly through our senses. We were nonverbal and nonlinear. And beyond that, the higher or deeper self. That's the spark of the divine within us, the sacred within us. Now, the fairy tradition says that our talking self really has trouble contacting and communicating with our deeper self. And we have to go through the younger self, or some of the older fairy tradition calls it the fetch. So, we still our conscious mind through ritual, through grounding. And the younger self, the unconscious or preconscious mind, is able to come out and play, and then we contact the deeper self, the divine. So that's kind of how I think it works. I really like the Norse idea of the three Norns, or three fates, the past, present, and future, that weave together to make the tapestry of our lives. I have an idea that at the moment when the tarot cards are shifted or the runes are shaken in the bag, that randomization somehow synchronizes with a larger sort of randomization in the universe, and the two come together, and we get a little sneak peek at what's going on behind the scenes. Or maybe not. Okay, I've talked about divination. Now, I'd like to give you a quick glimpse at two of the kinds of divination that I personally use. The first kind involves a pendulum, and this is one that I made with the group that I worked with last year when we were doing a divination session. But basically all you need is some sort of a weight and a chain or string. You can use a necklace, and I think one of our members has even used a tape measure to do pendulum divination. What I do to start with is I ground and center, and then I hold the pendulum usually over my left palm, and I steady its motion, and then I ask it a question that I know the answer to, a yes or no question. So, is my craft name Dancing Rabbit? I notice the pendulum begin to circle counterclockwise, so I know that means yes. I ask it another question that I know the answer to. Am I now 14 years old? And I notice that the pendulum begins to move back and forth, so I now know that that means no. And I steady it again, and I ask another question. Are we going to have fun tonight at our friend's wine tasting? Looks like no answer. So maybe that depends on a lot of things. So with the pendulum, you're going to get a yes, a no, or maybe nothing answer. Play around with it, have fun. It doesn't involve a deep shift in consciousness or memorizing a lot of stuff. It's very cheap, it's easy, but you only get yes or no answers. The other kind of divination that I use is tarot. I use the Robin Wood deck mainly because I think it's pretty. Robin Wood's illustrations, I mean, they're just really nice. The other thing about the Robin Wood deck is that I think it's fairly easy to read. What I usually do is shuffle the deck, and I do that several times, but I'm not going to spend video time tonight letting you watch me shuffle. This time, a 3-card spread. And I see the past in Temperance. The angel standing with 1 foot in the water, 1 on the land, and he's juggling 3 balls. And I have been doing an awful lot of juggling things in recent days, but I seem to have been quite temperate about it and able to keep all the balls in the air. The Present, the Chariot. Again, a very balanced card, light and dark, yin and yang, and you see the happy charioteer playing his harp as he runs down the road. This is my present path. And the future? The Fool. But the Fool is not so much foolish as quite childlike and innocent. You see him playing his flute as he's almost about to step over the precipice, or maybe he's just enjoying the view, and he's got his little dog nipping at his heels. And I think that this speaks of my immediate future, that I need to be a little more childlike and a whole lot less serious. Sometimes I just take things way too seriously.
Love potion number 9. Love potion number 9. Love potion number 9.